I'm thinking about the Arcade Fire now.
Okay, yeah, well,
we're trying to.
That, you know, talking about like what it means to be, you know, involved in society in some way, like what it means to be from a particular place and where you can take that. Yeah, I think there are lots of. That's probably a good example.
And then outside of the music, they're very activist.
Yeah, yeah, they are. Yeah.
Is that what you are as well, or not?
We probably are, but
we're not as famous as the Arcade Fire, so
so it's not.
So people don't know that we're activists. It's like, well, there are millions of people who are activists. You know, there are millions of people protesting on the street, but they're not famous musicians. So it's important for people who have a voice. You know, like people who have like the Arcade Fire, for instance, or whoever. If you have a voice, it's really important that you use it.
Especially, it seems like they seem like quite like a principled bunch of people. You know, they're trying to find ways to stick to their principles, and I think they've talked about how hard that is to do in the music industry. Well, it's important that people in music stick to their principles, because principles are much more important than being famous. Principles are much more important than, you know, going on tour and drinking loads of booze. So that there are bands out there trying to like stick to their principles and trying to talk about it's the best thing we can do. It's not very much, but it's like that's the best thing we can do.
Their activism manifests itself in a very public way because they have the fame. How does it manifest itself with you?
Just have to get on doing things, you know. Like Dave's joined the Labour Party recently, and well, not recently.
We're involved in like local community things and local political things, and we talk about it and we write about it, and I mean we can only make a tiny impact, but that's the best thing we can do. So.
Are you avid news followers? Do you follow what's going on?
Yes.
Yeah.
We try.
It's hard.
No,
there's been a lot of news this year.
There's been a lot of news, and it's quite often hard to get, you know, the picture from a mediated source. You know, every bit of information we get's been mediated somewhere along the line, whether it be the newspaper or the radio or the television, or even what just somebody says, have you heard about this? Right, you know, it's mediated by someone else's own their brain or their mind or whatever. So it's really hard to be. It is hard to be well informed because it's complicated.
Have you followed everything that's happened the last couple of years, or last couple of weeks with the Euro crisis and England's role in it? And is it
yes.
Well, yeah. Terrible.
Yes.
Why?
Well, because the papers, the really big selling papers at home in the UK have encouraged a really negative, really simplified and like xenophobic attitude towards Europe. And it's sad because actually in other countries in Europe, people feel European. You can criticize the EU, you can criticize how it works, you can certainly criticize the financial system, and really like that needs more criticism. But in the UK, there's this vitriol towards Europe. Really, it makes us seem very insular. But
it makes us seem very stupid, really. I think, you know, it's kind of.
But you know what? Like, it's as if in the UK we've decided that it's more important not to tax banks than it is to have real human rights legislation, or like this. One of the things that the current government have talked about is trying to get rid of the working time directive, like the idea that you can't work more than, well, it's like 60 hours. Nobody should work more than 60 hours. If people work more than 60 hours, and there are lots of people unemployed, there's a real problem there. Work less, employ more people, but it's like we care more about the money generated by banks than we care about people. I wouldn't vote for that, but because that's encouraged in most of our press, people do vote for that. It makes people feel British to complain about human rights legislation. That makes no sense to me.